So welcome back. I am Dr. Sarah Lindberg, and we are going to be doing the first chapter of Women Who Run with the Wolves today. And this story is about La Loba, and I will be reading the chapter and the story to you. But this chapter is all about becoming in touch with your instinctual self. This instinctual self is the barest of the bones, the most ancient structure that has passed on throughout our whole entire history. The most raw aspect of life that is the seed to our inner wild woman. It is in this structure that our very essence of femininity has been built. So, to become in touch with our instinctual self, this must be the start to our journey of becoming in touch with our wild woman nature. It is in this foundation of what makes us women who we are. It is the bare essentials, the bare necessities, the bare wisdom, the bare magic that we built out of the rest of our spirit off of. So this chapter tells the story of La Loba, the half wolf, half woman, who is still known as the old one who brings the dead back to life, or the bone woman. So allow me to read this to you. There is an old woman who lives in a hidden place that everyone knows in their soul, but few have ever seen. As in the fairy tale of Eastern Europe, she seems to wait for lost or wandering people and seekers to come to her place. She is circumspect, often hairy, always fat, and especially wishes to evade most company. She is both a crower, a cackler, generally having more animal sounds than human ones. I might say she lives among the rotten granite slopes in Tarahumara Indian Territory, or that she is buried outside Phoenix near a well. Perhaps she will be seen traveling south to Monte Alban in a burnt out car with a back window shot out, or maybe she'll be spotted standing by the highway near El Paso, or riding shotgun with truckers in Morelia, Mexico, or walking to market above Oaxaca with strangely formed bows of firewood on her back. She calls herself by many names: La Huesera, Bone Woman; La Trapera, the Gatherer; La Loba, Wolf Woman. The sole work of La Loba is the collecting of bones. She collects and preserves especially that which is in danger of being lost to the world. Her cave is filled with the bones of all manner of desert creatures, the deer, the rattlesnake, the crow, but her specialty is wolves. She creeps and crawls and sifts through the montañas, the arroyos, looking for wolf bones, and when she has assembled the entire skeleton, when the last bone is in place and the beautiful white sculpture of the creature is laid out before her, she sits by the fire and thinks about what song she will sing. And when she is sure, she stands over the criatura, raises her arms over it, and sings out. That is when the rib bones and leg bones of the wolf begin to flesh out and the creature becomes furred. La Loba sings some more, and more of the creature comes into being, its tails curled upward, shaggy and strong. And La Loba sings more, and the wolf creature begins to breathe. And still, La Loba sings so deeply that the floor of the desert shakes, and as she sings, the wolf opens its eyes, leaps up, and runs away from the canyon. Somewhere in its running, whether by speed of its running or by splashing its way into a river, or by the way a ray of sunlight or moonlight hitting it right in the side, the wolf is suddenly transformed into a laughing woman who runs free towards the horizon. So remember, if you wander the desert and it is near sundown and you are perhaps a little bit lost and certainly tired, that you are lucky, for La Loba may take a liking to you and show you something of the soul. So I love that story, and I feel as though Estes reflects the the instinctual self. And she also then says in her book, we all begin as a bundle of bones lost somewhere in a desert, a dismantled skeleton that lies under the sand. It is our work to recover the parts. It is a painstaking process best done when the shadows are just right, for it takes much looking. La Loba indicates what we are to look for, the indestructible life force, the bones. So I just believe that this story represents the themes of resurrection of the soul. The roots that we have come from and have been so powerful for centuries is right at our fingertips. That power and wisdom can be sang back to life. That power and wisdom can be tapped back into and become alive again in this world. If so desired, the ancient wisdom that is brought on by song also represents the breath and speaking the truth of our instinctual wisdom. When we sing what we truly believe, when we strike the chord of what our ancient truths are, when our passion of our words gets struck to the bones or essence of who we are. The wild woman knows that we are carrying out her business. The wild woman within will take a hold of us and help us carry out our truth. So she will embody us and become awakened within us. She will become rebirthed in us. There is a wisdom in tradition and in the ancestral ways of femininity. That ancient wisdom is the life force that has been brewing since the oldest days. This wisdom is also the complete freedom and bliss of the wild self, of the women who are running wild with the wolves, the ultimate balance of myth and fact, of structure and freedom, of void and present moment, of the purest love and the purest of losses. To get to this state, La Loba shows us how to do this. She meditates, sings, prays, writes, and dances around a fire in a deeply intentional space in order to get to this void state, the world between worlds. This world should be experienced with the same balance, a balance of not too fascinated and not too unconscious, not too much awe and not too much bravery. It is our duty to share and serve the world of our lessons so that each time it is taught, the pattern can be solidified. So it can be simpler and almost standardized. Our task with the wisdom of the world between worlds is to live out our lessons. Our task is to apprehend the timing of both, to allow what must die to die and what must live to live. In the words of Estes, to have these seeds means to have the key to life. To be with the cycle of the seed means to dance with life, to dance with death, to dance life into death, to dance death into life again. She must speak to advocate. She mustn't use her voice for restoration. So Estes also goes on to talk about how La Loba, the old one in the desert, is the collector of bones. In archetypal symbology, bones represent the indestructible force. They do not lend themselves easy reduction. They are, by their structure, bones are hard to burn, nearly impossible to pulverize. And in myth and story, they represent the indestructible soul spirit. So we know the soul spirit can be maimed, but it is impossible to kill. Within us is the old one who collects bones. Within us is the potential to be fleshed out again as the creatures we once were. So within us, the bones to change ourselves and the world. Within us is the breath of our truths and our longings. And together they are the song, the creation hymn we have been yearning so long to sing. So what is it that the old woman inside you is trying to remodel? What bones of your intuition is she putting together? What attributes of your instinctual nature are needing to come alive once again? What is she protecting in your soul? What is it that needs to become freed? unleashed? What must become alive again, and what must die? This chapter documents that we are in our beginning stage of our soul searching for our inner wild. In this beginning stage, we must connect and reform and align our ancestral roots, our bones. So, what are these bare bones to you that you must scavenge? Where will you go to be seeking for these bones within yourself? Will you find it reading in a candlelight or picking up smooth river stone? Or feel her brush through your hair while climbing a mountain, or in the breath when you say, I love you? Will you scavenge through a dark blizzard or a thunderstorm? Or will you find her in the garden full of tulips? Or will you find her sinking your teeth into a freshly picked apple or the steam of a piping hot tea? Even when you do conjure all of the bones, what will you then do? Will you even sing her alive? Will you even know what to say? Will you tap into your ancestral self? Will you judge yourself with how your body moves with this newly discovered soul? Will you even welcome the wisdom, or will you fear it? Will you embrace and love what dies in you, or will you study and try to make sense of what is it to be alive? And if you gather your bones and sing them into life, will you even howl and run free with your ancient innocence? So that is my rendition of the first chapter. And if you would like, here are some reflection questions that you can write down and journal about to maybe bring in this instinctual soul, this instinctual self back into your life. So happy bone searching. The reflection questions I propose are, what has happened to my soul voice? Number 2, what are the buried bones of my life? Number 3, in what condition is my relationship to the instinctual self? Number 4, when was the last time I ran free? Number 5, how do I make life come alive again? And number 6, where has Loba gone to? I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to meeting you in chapter 2.